Okay, so first off, I'm sorry for the cringy clickbait title. I've just noticed those sorts of hip-hop fan first reaction to Rage Against the Machine type titles tend to do well. So this is my first playthrough of the original Silent Hill. I've played the second game and the third game several times. I know them quite well. So I first played Silent Hill 2 when I was 18, so that was 4 years ago, and then Silent Hill 3 I played about a year later. So I haven't played the classic, the OG, so I started playing it recently. I reached the first boss and I decided that I would record this playthrough because there are some things I would like to talk about in regards to this series, and particularly the upcoming Silent Hill 2 Remake, and this is just an easy format rather than creating a video essay or something that takes a whole lot of time. And really I just wanted this to be quite a chill playthrough. I have a list of topics that I kind of want to discuss as I'm playing. Now I look really bad in this lighting, but like I said, I just wanted it to be a chill playthrough, so I don't really care much about production value or any of that sort of thing. And so I'm going to be playing the game on hard because that's how I like to play my survival horror games. And I should mention that survival horror is one of my favorite genres, and obviously this is a classic in the genre. A lot of games are considered classics, and there isn't a whole lot of time in life to get around to all of these things, so better late than never. I know a lot of people consider that early computer graphic look to be outdated, but I actually quite like it. I think it has a nice style. Another game that I really enjoy that has that look is Pathologic.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Where are you going? Hey, wait! Stop!
So obviously I know about Cheryl because, like I said, I've played the third game. Really enjoy this intro. I think it might be I think it probably is my favorite intro of the first 3 games. Okay, yeah, so I wanted to talk about this actually. This angle. This really stuck out to me when I was first playing the game. It's this kind of cinematography that you don't get in Over the Shoulder, and it's stuff like this that makes me really enjoy fixed camera angles, even though I know a lot of people consider them to be outdated. I don't really subscribe to that idea. think, serving the game is what's most important, and I think a lot of survival horror games benefit from the fixed camera angles. But obviously, yeah, it's something you have to get used to. You've got to kinda get outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, this is really nice cinematography.
What is this? What's going on here?
Love the music here. I really like how these enemies just kind of sneak up on you, they don't make any sound. I'd imagine this probably would have scared a lot of people who played it back in the day. So yeah, that's a scripted death.
Was I dreaming?
How do you feel?
Oh, like I've been run over by a truck. But I'm alright, I guess.
Glad to hear it. You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Portishead post on
Wait
the
a second,
window.
I'm just a tourist.
Love that.
I came here for a vacation. I just got here. I don't know what happened.
Obviously, an influence on
I'd like to find out myself.
some of the tracks that Yamaoka has composed.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month, short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
Where is everybody?
I'd tell you if I knew, believe me. But from what I can tell, something bizarre's going on. That's all I know. What's your name?
Harry. Harry Mason.
Sybil Bennett. I'm a police officer from Brams, the next town over. The phones are all dead, and the radio too. I'm going back to call in some reinforcements. Hold it. Where do you think you're going?
My daughter. I've got to find her.
No way. It's dangerous out there.
In that case, I need to find her now. Cheryl's my little girl. I can't just leave her out there by herself.
Have you got a gun?
No.
Take this, and hope you don't have to use it.
So yeah, the dialogue obviously,
Now listen to me. Before you pull the trigger, know who you're shooting.
or the voice acting rather,
And don't do it unless you have to.
is quite
And don't go
unnatural.
blasting me by mistake.
Not so much as it is in Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, thanks.
But it definitely has that kind of...
You do best to stay nearby. I'll be back with help as quick as I can.
odd feeling to it. I should also mention I probably really suck at commentary, and that's more so just because I'm not really a talker. This is me kind of pushing myself out of my comfort zone, but I wanted to talk about some things and I wanted to play this game, so... this is another thing that I like so far about this game. The save mechanic has a lore reason for existing. That being Harry is writing down his experiences in hopes that other people will find them useful. I also really like this game's color palette, particularly in here. I like this kind of, there's like a bluish hue in the air that's kind of complementing the other colors in here. I'm not sure how noticeable things like that would have been on the PS1 on a CRT monitor, but I can definitely notice it upscaled on a 1440 monitor. I also really like, even though this game uses fixed camera angles, you can move the camera around and kind of pivot it with LT. And yeah, you definitely can't do that in Resident Evil, which I think kind of puts these early Silent Hill games, at least camera-wise, above the early Resident Evil games. Hang on, what have I forgot to grab? The map. I just noticed that enemy out there, kind of foreshadowing what's about to happen. I never noticed that before. Okay, yep, so now we need to leave.
What's that? Huh, radio. What's going on with that radio?
I really, really don't like the radio sound in this game. It just sounds like an alarm going off. It's really annoying. Okay, so this enemy you have to kill. I know because the first
This is not a dream! What's happening to this place?
The first time I played, I just tried to leave, but the game doesn't allow you to. So yeah, really obnoxious radio sound. I'm never going to be using that. Even in Silent Hill 2 and 3, I don't really find a need for the radio. It's just kind of unnecessary. Another thing that I'm not crazy on is the fact that you have to confirm pickups. I don't really see how that's necessary when the game doesn't have limited inventory. And I mean, things like handgun ammo stack, so, you know, there's no reason that you wouldn't want to pick them up. So yeah, just kind of a unnecessary prompt, I think. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was my experience with Silent Hill as a franchise, and that began, I guess maybe when I was 5. My dad was playing one of the games. I'm not sure which one it was, I don't quite remember. But it was one of the games with the nurses, and I was scared of the nurses for most of my childhood. They were one of my biggest fears, just that design stuck with me. And that was like the most distinct thing about Silent Hill that stayed in my mind. I don't find them quite as terrifying now as I used to, but I still think it's a great design. It's really effective. So my first time playing one of the games was actually a flip phone game, and this was when I was probably too young to be playing it. It was around that same time, so 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. And I remember that game being quite good. I think it was top down, if I remember correctly. It was on a flip phone, so probably really awkward to play. So that was the first Silent Hill game I played was a game on a flip phone, which is probably not a very common way to be introduced to this franchise. And then I played Silent Hill Downpour, I think, when it came out or the year after. And I remember enjoying, I know it doesn't have a good reputation at all, but I remember enjoying that game as a kid. The only reason I didn't complete it is because I got stuck on one of the puzzles, I think, or it bugged out or something. I would really like to go back to that game and just see if my memory of it holds up. I doubt it will, because I've heard nothing but bad things about Downpour, both from hardcore fans and those who aren't even so much into the series. There's that camera angle again. That was my first damage. That was unfortunate. Wasn't paying attention there.
Isn't this Cheryl's sketchbook? She's at the school.
And yeah, so I decided to play Silent Hill 2 in 2020, and I can't remember what exactly compelled me to do that. I don't know, I've always been into survival horror games, and I think that was a classic that I just hadn't ever played. So I emulated it through a PS2 emulator. I didn't play the enhanced edition. I'm not even sure. I don't know if the enhanced edition was even really... Now I would say it's probably the definitive way to play the game, but I don't know if that was the case back then. But anyway, I played it through a PS2 emulator, and I didn't have any issues. Which is uncommon. Normally I have issues emulating older games. Okay, did I check that? And yeah, so quick thoughts on Silent Hill 2. For me, I think it's the most intelligent video game that I've ever played. And I mean, there are really too many. If I really wanted to do the game justice, I would be one of those people posting a 3-hour video essay on the game, but I don't know if I'm willing to do that, as much as I love the game. I mean, the depth in Silent Hill 2 is that there are very few video games that have as much going on and as much nuance as Silent Hill 2 does. It has a lot of elements that remind me a lot of David Lynch, who is my favourite director. I don't really watch a whole lot of movies, but I know that's probably quite a basic director to list as your favourite. But yeah, I really, really love both his writing and his just general directing. And I know that David Lynch is one of the primary influences on Silent Hill, which you can see that. Yeah, I think Silent Hill 2, the film that the game reminds me the most of would probably be Lost Highway, which is my favourite of Lynch's films. I know most people would probably say Eraserhead or Blue Velvet if you're a bit of a normie. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I'm just joking around. yeah, Lost Highway is my... And I don't want to spoil anything, but obviously if you've seen the movie, you should probably be able to see how it kind of parallels a lot of what happens in Silent Hill 2. Okay, so I'm kind of getting lost in thought here. So yeah, I guess we're just kind of... I'm searching the town at the moment for resources, because I do remember from when I first played it, there's a lot kind of scattered around. And so yeah, just sticking on the theme of Silent Hill 2, the remake. So there's a lot of kind of different takes floating around. Most of the really negative stuff that I've seen is coming from older people who've grown up with this series. But I mean, I didn't grow up with the games. The first proper game I played, well, I suppose it was Downpour, but really, I didn't finish the game. So, I mean, I would consider it to be Silent Hill 2. In 2020, that was the first game that I really dove into. And yeah, I mean, the thing with the remake is looking at it purely on a superficial level. It's capturing the game on that level really well, I think. But a lot of the nuances that you might not even notice in a first playthrough just aren't there in the footage that's been shown. And that's why I think a lot of people who haven't played the game, or more casual fans who have only played it maybe once and weren't really thinking too deeply about it, are kind of oh, I'm back here, that was a mistake. Kind of, you know, giving the developer a lot of applause to those people, their, you know, careful, delicate handling of this game. And really, I should kind of just start out with how I feel about remakes just generally. Because I'm really not a fan. I'm not saying remakes can't be good. I think the Resident Evil 2 remake is a really good remake. And I'm not just saying that because I don't know much about the original. I've played the original, and actually I'm honestly not crazy about the original Resident Evil 2. I'm one of those people who prefers Resident Evil 3. That game I've played several times. Resident Evil 2 I only played once, but the remake, I was speedrunning it at one point, because that's how much I was enjoying it. But the thing with that game is it feels like you're playing a different, it's not the same game. Even though it's, you know, a remake, it doesn't really feel like you're playing the same game, and this is the thing with remakes, that's just how they can feel sometimes. You're inevitably going to remove things, and that's just going to piss off some people. Particularly older fans. And the thing that I kind of wonder is, who are remakes really for? What you very often hear from developers is they're remaking a game for a modern audience, and I really don't know what that means. I've never understood that. You know, if modern audience means young people, there is no barrier to stopping young people from playing older games. I mean, that's what I'm doing at this very moment. You know, if I really think ports are what we need to see a lot more of. You know, I kind of, like, going back to Resident Evil 2, I kind of wish the remake also included a port of the original game. Because like I said, that the original and the remake are two very different experiences. And so for most people, the remake is just going to replace the original. I think remakes, if you're going to do them, you know, well, I suppose here's another example. So Metal Gear Solid 3 is getting a remake, and the original absolutely has some elements that I think warrant reassessing. So, for instance, there's some, what I would call misogyny in the game, but if you wanted to be a bit more generous, you could say there's some objectification of women in the game. And that kind of stuff, removing that in a remake is, that's the kind of thing I think remakes should be doing. That's what remakes should really be about, if we're going to do them at all. But that's the thing, I really don't think. I know that if I were a developer and I was told, okay, you're starting up your next project and here's what it is, it's a remake of a game from 20 years ago, that would kind of just deflate me. Those games still exist, right? But they can still be played. They should be getting ports. That's a whole lot less of an effort. And then those people who are now, you know, having to work on a remake of an older game for however many years can focus on a entirely new IP. And, you know, pushing things forward instead of getting stuck in the past. I think if you're really passionate about video games, playing older stuff is important. It's the same with any art form, really. If you're into music, you shouldn't be restricting your listening to contemporary stuff. If you're into film, same thing. Or at the very least, you should be familiar with the history. So ports are great. Ports are what we need to see more of. There are so many games that I wanted to play as a kid, but I couldn't because I didn't have the older console that I needed and I didn't have a PC to emulate the game. Going back to the Silent Hill 2 remake, let's say it comes out, doesn't turn out to be bad, but it turns out to be just okay, like a 6 out of 10 kind of experience. For a lot of people, that's going to be Silent Hill 2. That's what they're going to know, because that's all they have. That remake is the game for them. They don't have a PC, they only have a PS5, so that they can't play the original, because it's not on PS5 and they don't have a PC. So the original, I think most people would agree, is like, it's a masterpiece, you know, it's a classic for a reason. And so it would really, really suck to me. Like, here's the thing, my biggest concern for the Silent Hill 2 remake isn't that it's going to be bad. I think that would be better than it coming out and being just good, you know? Because then, you know, you might have some people saying, okay, yeah, that was Silent Hill 2, I get why people like it. I don't quite get what all the craze is about, but that was a good game. And then they move on, right? They don't get that deep, rich story that you get in the original. You know, the subject matter. And the heavy themes that it deals with such precision. So I need to go to the end of one of these roads, I remember. Yeah, this one here. Need to read this to get the key from the doghouse. So yeah, I'm not wording things particularly in a particularly elegant way right now because I'm kind of dividing my attention here. But I hope I'm kind of getting the point across. And yeah, going back to the whole, you know, it being bad would actually be kind of better line of thinking. You know, everyone's heard of Silent Hill 2, everyone's heard that it's a really good game. You know, so I think if the remake were to come out and be really, really bad, you would have a lot of people who would be kind of skeptical of that. Like, I thought this game was supposed to be good, why is it so bad? And then they might go and look into the original a bit more, whereas they might not do that if the game is good, but in like a 6 out of 10 way. That probably sounds really stupid to a lot of people. I'm sure there's a better way I could word this. So yeah, they give you a lot of items at the start here. I remember Silent Hill 3 does the same thing, but then they get very stingy with the items in the later parts of the game. Okay, so I'm still missing 2 of the keys. But yeah, obviously I want the Silent Hill 2 remake to come out and be at least as good as the original. Of course I want that. That's the ideal scenario. But yeah, another thing, I was kind of wondering how much of my generation is familiar with these games or likes these games. I mean, I don't know, you hear a lot of older people say Gen Z doesn't play old games, you know, they don't watch old films, they don't listen to old music, and I don't know, it's not true for me, but maybe it is true for the majority of Gen Z, I'm not sure. I'm quite out of touch with my generation, I'll be honest. If you're Gen Z and a Silent Hill enjoyer, then just let me know, because I'd be curious to get an idea about that. Reminded me of something I saw recently. I think it was a comment on a YouTube video for one of the Silent Hill 2 trailers that said, "This remake is a game for Gen Z because Gen Z doesn't like these types of games, these old school survival horror games." And I'm like, really? There's a lot of very condescending attitudes like that towards younger people, I think. You know, I'm pretty sure I've, in the past, been accused of lying about liking things, because of my age relative to theirs. Oh, you like music from the 40s? What are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing. And obviously it's very silly. Age isn't a limiting factor in the media you can enjoy. I also wanted to talk about just the general state of survival horror games, because you really don't see a whole lot of them anymore. The biggest one we got most recently was Alan Wake 2, and I really, you know, like if that's the bar for survival horror today, I don't know, it's a bit low, I think. I thought, you know, I thought the game was really interesting visually, and I was interested in the story, but the gameplay just isn't there at all. I was playing on the hardest difficulty, and it felt like easy mode, or normal, you know, so that was definitely kind of an underwhelming thing for me, because as I said, I'd like to play survival horror games on the hardest difficulty, and, you know, something like Resident Evil, you know, playing on the hardest difficulty on real survival, that's quite challenging, and that's what I want out of survival horror. Now indie games are where it's at for survival horror recently. So we had Signalis was a big one. I really like that game, but when I was playing it, I couldn't help but feel it's really wearing its Silent Hill influence on its sleeve. And I know that a lot of people who have nostalgia for Silent Hill, they were really eating that up. But to me it really kinda stuck out in not such a great way. I just kind of wanted it to be a little bit more original. But it was still a really great game. And it's the kind of survival horror that I really would like to see more of. Another one was the latest Amnesia game, which again, really great game. I was surprised by that game, because it's, you know, it's Amnesia, it's not really known. I mean, it's not a franchise that's known for being survival horror, period. But it's not even known for any kind of combat. So I was really surprised by that game and the kind of different options you have in terms of dealing with enemies. And obviously, you know, the having, you know, like a central hub area that you explore and slowly kind of unlock and link together. Obviously very Resident Evil, that kind of thing I really love. To talk about what I do like in regards to what we've seen of the remake of Silent Hill 2, I think the creature design is really great. Again, some people, you know, have had their issues, and there's been a lot of, you know, capital G gamers complaining that, you know, the nurses have stockings now, as if that somehow, I don't know, makes them less sexualized, which obviously, you know, it's important to the narrative, you know, it's not just there to be a degenerate, really. It has a purpose, but the thing is, it's still there, you know? I don't see how stockings somehow make the nurses less sexualized. But yeah, there are plenty of valid criticisms I've seen. I just don't really share any of them. And I mean, you can expect the creature design to be mostly great because you obviously have Masahiro Ito doing the creature designs as he did for the original game. In terms of sound design, that all seems spot on for the most part. Again, you have Yamaoka working on the game, so you know, obviously who did the original music, if anyone doesn't know, as well as I'm pretty sure he did all of the sound for Silent Hill 2, so he did sound design as well as music. At the very least he did some of the sound design, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure he did all of it. Okay, final key, and get the heal. One of the big points of bother for me with the remake is the dialogue, which obviously it feels it has a lot more of a naturalistic kind of feel, which isn't surprising to me. They're trying to make the game a bit more palatable, I think. And I do think a lot of people now, if they were to play the game and listen to the dialogue, there's a very good chance that they would hear it and think, oh, this is just bad. And I mean, yeah, some of it is just bad. I know a lot of people will say, oh no, it's genius, it's all intentional. I don't really think that's the case. I think there are some lines that are just really poorly delivered. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of uncanny, and that's, you know, intentional, I think, or at least it adds to the game, in my opinion. Okay, so we've got all the keys, and I love that when you use one, it uses all of them. You don't have to do them individually. Obviously the elephant in the room with the remake is the developer who is handling it. The developer with the worst name you could possibly give your company. I just want to throw that out there. But I mean, yeah, Silent Hill 2 is a game that, at the very least, has mental health as a big theme. But you could say that's what the whole game is about. And this is a developer that has a track record of not handling that theme very well, like at all. You know, you could say they're a bit problematic in that aspect. Really love how the nights look in this game, just totally pitch black. And so I've had to kind of, because here's the thing, I really don't want to support that developer financially whatsoever. But at the same time, because of how much Silent Hill 2 has come to mean to me, I feel like I have to play the remake, you know? I have to, not because not even because of anything to do with enjoyment, but more so because this is something that means a lot to me and I need to know how they're handling it, you know? And I mean, I don't wanna say they're past redemption, you know, maybe they redeem themselves and their reputation with this remake. Okay, so we can't go... Okay, wait. How am I doing on health at the moment? Okay, I'm almost dead. Yeah, I mean, I think to really judge a game as fairly as possible, you kind of need to play it yourself. So even if I'm hesitant about the remake, if I, you know, if I really want to give it a fair shot, I kind of have to play it myself. But I don't know, normally if a, you know, if a developer's just shitty, I won't buy their games. I'm kind of, I don't know, breaking my, my rule here. Yeah, like I said, I have played this part of the game before. I got up to the first boss, so I have an idea of what I'm doing, but this part has some enemies that are a huge pain in the ass. And they really, I mean, it's fair play to the developers really, because they have an attack which specifically counters the way I like to play survival horror games, which is to run past everything. And these enemies are like, no, you can't do that. So, you know, that's something I'm gonna have to deal with once again. And so yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. That was the town. It was very ranty, first episode, but I just had some things I wanted to say. I'll definitely start reacting to the game a bit more once I reach the part that I haven't yet gotten to, right after the first boss. So I'm gonna leave it here for now.